Good rising, my fellow Ethernals, fellow extraterrestrials. That's who we are. Welcome again to another sunny Sunday of the One Grid I Am Awakening. I'm Chris Taylor, one of your hosts, and alongside with me is my partner in mind, in spirit, Mr. Gregory Thomas. Sir T, say grand rising to the panel.
Yes, man, it is love. Peace and love to everyone out there this morning. You know, not a Sunday morning, Sir Chris Scarlett, it's sunny Sunday morning. We're out here one more time, continue what we've been doing. You know, continue to put the word out there, continue to empower the people, to let them know that you are enough, you are everything, you are also nothing. You're just experiencing, you're just mind experiencing matter, you know. Your mind experiencing matter. And in the end, it doesn't matter because you will always resort back. You will always default back to the original, which is mind. So don't mind what people will be telling you about what will happen in the future, what will happen after you die. None of that doesn't matter. The only thing that matters is mind. This is why the cliche saying, when something happens magically, because of course, when people look at that thing and tell us, say, "I'm mind over matter, man," and because something magical happening or something that cannot be explained. So the explanation for it is that it's mind over matter. For example, if you if you had a dream last night that you were having a tooth, one reason you don't have tooth yet, but you had a dream last night that you were having a tooth, and then you wake up and by in the afternoon your teeth start hurt. And you run go tell your mother about the dream. Say, Mama, you know, my dream last night, so me have a toothache, and by this evening, me start to see. Your mother said, nah, man, no, it's a mind over matter. It's because something is happening that she can't explain how those correlate, how the dream and the toothache correlate, where you saw it in a dream and now it's happening naturally. It's mind over matter. It's because something magical is happening. That's what happens when you put mind over matter. Get back into your mind. You know why they say you're out of your mind when you start the foolishness? Get back into your mind and stay in mind. Because to stay in mind is to stay present. Mind does not have a past tense. Neither does mind have a future tense. Mind is only present. Let me explain that way. We get into the class now. I'll talk about Joshua and Moses. But I'm just explaining so. The only thing you can do with the past is remember it. You can't do anything else with the past. You cannot go back and revisit it. You can't go back down into the past and make any adjustment to the past. The past is history and history cannot be rewritten. Neither can you do anything about the future. The only thing you can do with the future is imagine it. And the only thing you can do with the past is remember it. Mm-hmm. While you are here in the present, remembering the past, when are you remembering it? No. Right now is when you're remembering. And when you're here in the present, imagining the future, when are you imagining? No. The only thing that you can do with your mind is to remain present right here. If you project your mind into the future, that's imagination. If you regress your mind into the past, that's memory. That's three number things you can do with your mind. Three things. You can imagine, future tense. You can remember, past tense. Or you can think, present tense. The only thing you can do with your mind. But whichever one of those that you're doing it now. You can only think now. You can think of the future, but you can't think in the future. You can think of the past, but you can't think in the past. If you go into the past, you're not thinking, you're remembering. If you're going to the future, you are not thinking, you're imagining. It all happens now. Mind is a one shot. When you really bring it all together. That's why it's so simple. You don't need education to use your mind. You don't have to teach a child how to use its mind or an animal. You don't have to teach them to do it. It's natural. Everything is natural, just like circus.
A good point there, sir. We love the analogies used there. And the talk about a child and animals. They're also natural in their elements, you know? They don't know of any such thing as past, present, or future. They're just always in the present moment. And that's all they know, you know? So, but absolutely true. Everything you just mentioned there, you know? And as you said, we're going to be talking about the story of Joshua commanding the sun to stand still, you know? And that is a story that is in the past that we're going to bring right into the forefront of the present.
You notice the people them telling you that story, they can never bring it to the present and demonstrate it. It has to remain in the past.
It has to remain in the past, the so-called past. And that's what we're going to address today is that the Bible is not a literal historical book. The Bible is a mythical book, a book of mind science, as the Reverend Ike like to say, you know? Book of mind science, a book of the mind. It is psychology. It is parable, metaphor, hyperbole. All these things are exaggerated and dramatized in the Bible to tell a story of the mind. It's divine principles, you know, that are laden within it that we take for granted. And these are just mystical history, if you want to call it that, not literal history.
Yeah, and that's why mystical history, that's why it is called a mystery. That's why it's called a mystery, no, it's mystical history.
Yeah, right, mystical history, yeah.
It's not, oh boy. When something is real, and I know I've said this a million times, but the old quotation said the truth is worth repeating a zillion times.
True.
When something is real, what do I mean by real? Means that it stands within the confines of reality. When something is real, you don't hear people arguing about it.
True.
People don't argue about things that is real. There's no point for the argument because everybody knows. Anything that you are going to have to convince people that it's real. Check your head, man. Something not real about it. That's why if it were real, you wouldn't have to be convincing anybody. And it has been centuries that we have had this divide. Some people believe that it exists, some people don't believe. There isn't a man on the planet that don't believe that the moon exists. Or that don't accept that the moon exists. You would have to be a madman. Why? Because the moon demonstrates its existence to you every day and night. The proof is right there. You cannot argue with it. If you have to be, all right, you know what is people argue? Some man said dopey there. Some man said no dopey no. All right, good. The man who said dopey there, him can't carry one come show you. You know what is if it were real, there wouldn't be any argument. You know why there wouldn't be any argument? Because even if a man starts out with saying there is no dopey, then a man just have to go for your dopey, you can't show him. Yeah. And that's the end of his confusion. It's the same thing with God and devil. If God did real, you wouldn't have to be arguing about it. A God believer or somebody who knows the fact that God would actually God come give you a long time. If these stories and these demonstrations that we read in this mystical book were practical things that exist in our reality. You would have seen it at least once. Somebody would have seen it. It can never be that something is real and it was demonstrated in the presence of a generation many thousand years ago. And they believe. But now you are asked to believe that same mystical thing without ever experiencing. And keep in mind now, the consequences is dire. Because if you don't believe it, dog, name your supper, brother. Hellfire for you.
Hellfire.
And you call that justice. And when you go around and say God is a just God, would a college professor, teacher, would it be just if a teacher set you an exam on some material that he never taught you and then grade you based on how you do on the exam, knowing very well he never taught you that material? That's what is happening when God is going to judge you because you don't believe something that he never demonstrated in front of you. That's injustice. That's not justice. That's not justice. So we just say all our we just set to set the preface to this lesson that we are about to discuss right now. That there's no reality in it, but still it has value. It is vital if you understand it. It's teaching you a life lesson that you're seeing in front of you every day. It's just explaining it to you now in a metaphysical, metaphorical, paradoxical way. Because I'm going to show you, I think in a circus, the writers of these stories, they weren't stupid enough. Because them write the story in the middle of the story when you're reading them. The clue is right there telling you that this is not real. The writers made sure it's there. If you stay engaged in the story where you're reading, the clue is right there to tell you that it's not real. You think the writer did expect you to think to believe if the alarm beats the damn candy that cheat on and said, brother, where you beat never. You really think the writer did expect you to believe that? No. The writer is using things that you're gonna experience in your natural life. You know what a donkey is like. You know a donkey cannot talk. The writer is demonstrating to you that in the case of the alarm, anything that you are so engaged with, if it's even a donkey, it's gonna respond to you. Anything that you constantly think about and engage with in the spirit, it's gonna respond to you in the natural. Like a donkey talking. That's what the writer is trying to pull out of here. The writer just lay down something in front of you, you just read and pull your belly out and believe and God. The writer is inviting you to think. So, Sir Chris, back to you, my brother.
All right, Sir T. Thank you, sir. As we've previously discussed, we're going to be talking about the lesson from the Bible. I think it was Joshua 10, somewhere along that line, about the sun standing still. So we're going to be talking today about Joshua commanding the sun to stand still. And the question is, could Joshua have commanded the sun to stand still when this is not physically, astrologically, or universally possible? So that's our discussion today. What does it mean when Joshua commanded the sun to stand still? So we're going to be talking about the so-called history of this biblical event. And I found, interestingly, I found some literature today stating that scientists have discovered that exact day. And that day we're coming up on its anniversary, as a matter of fact. It states here that Cambridge researchers announced Monday that they have pinpointed the date of the biblical account of Joshua stopping the sun, which they claim is the day of the oldest eclipse ever recorded, to October 30th, 1207 BC, before the Common Era. Exactly 3,224 years ago. Well, you know how they know these things? Because they can tell through computer simulation when we're going to have our next eclipse, where it's going to take place, what part of the world, what part of the country. All these things are now figured out because of computer simulation and knowing from the last eclipse, and they track it, and they realize that it's a like a seasonal thing. Every year we know that 4 seasons come and go. They never stop. So you can predict that we're coming up on winter right now. We're in the fall, coming up on winter. Excuse me. So they know all these things, and they can backtrack it. Therefore, based on their backtracking, and they're tracking Bible history and all this type of stuff, they've dated it as October 30th. Now remember, in those times, the Bible has never mentioned anything about a day of the week or a month of the year. They did mention month, or months, or days, and year, or years, and so on and so forth. But they have never mentioned what month of the year it is, or what day of the week. Everything is the first day, the second day, all the way to the 7th, or the 10th day, or the 14th day, or the 17th day of the month. They use all these things. So let me give you a quick review of where they came up with the name month, or the word month. The word month came from the word moon. Okay? We have a moon in the sky that has a pattern, a 28-day cycle. They use the sun to judge the day in terms of when the sun rises, that's a new day. When the sun sets, that's the end of the day. And when it rises again, it's a new day. That's how them do it, Sunrise, sunset, one day, over with. Rise again, new day. The moon has its cycle throughout that same month. And so they got the name month based on the movement of the moon. So it was really moonth, 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 moving across the skies. And they notice the pattern takes 28 days for it to come back to where it started out. Therefore, the moon symbolizes that there are 28 days in a month. And if you do the number, it's really 13 months based on the movement of the moon as the earth goes around the sun. And if you divide 28 into 365, you get 13. Okay? So there is no such thing as a month of the year that was ever recorded in the Bible. If they use the term, they're talking astrologically. Astrological means the study of the heaven, study of the stars, the movements, all these different things. And that's how they name, okay, what we're going through 1 month based on the movement of the moon. Then the next cycle again, that's another month. What they cannot tell, could not tell, did not tell how many months were in 1 year. It is modernized people that put these things together to measure time. None of that stuff was ever recorded historically. We don't know what year anything was written, what year the Bible was written, and what month, and all this foolishness. Okay, so just to put that out there so you guys know, those things never existed. So to go back and say that it was from the last eclipse, Yeah, based on what time we have put ourselves in, based on us entering the wait name now, the Pisces, and we're now either entering or we're already in the next astrological sign, which is Aquarius. You know, we're in Aquarius now, or entering Aquarius. That's another 2,150 years. Okay, that's where the 2000 come from. You know, every astrological sign that the sun enters into is about or approximately 2,150 years that abides in it from the time it enters to the time it exits. That's where they get the year 2000 from. So how many times have we gone through all these astrological signs, including this one we're in? How many times have we gone through it? So there's no year 2000. If there's anything, there's year 200,000 or 2,000,000 or 2 billion. How many times this planet has circled and gone through all these systems? You understand? So it's absolute madness. We've just done that to track time for ourselves. There are other planets out there, other celestial bodies that are in their own solar system, are in their own galaxy, are also in our galaxy.
Sir Chris,
Yes, sir.
sorry if I stop you. Let me ask you a question. Let me ask you a question. All them other celestial bodies, I know what America send man to the moon. Saying?
Yeah.
But all them other celestial bodies that they have been able to observe that them out there in a space. I'm talking about the planets, them Saturn and Uranus and all of them. Or even the sun.
Yeah.
Has any man gone to any of them?
No, sir.
All right, good. So when we the here setting all these rules and thinking we are the chosen people of a God and all this, that. How do we know that some life form not exist on some other planet out there? How do we not know that are not them the people they are the chosen of the God we are?
Exactly.
Do you understand? It would be like Kingston people feeling like say them are the only people. Like people in that land.
Yeah.
You understand what I say? You can't just there on the earth and be like, you know that these other bodies out there exist, bigger one on the earth, huger. But the one with the ring round it? Saturn.
Saturn, yeah.
Much time you could have live up here and drop in a Saturn?
So again?
How many times could you live up the earth and drop it into Saturn? About 1 billion times in terms of size.
Third of size.
Correct. So you want them to say them big old things that are out there and just exist with no reason at all and everything is just centered upon the earth. That's man. All these things, that is man being obsessed with himself. All these things where your man at how special he is and then them narrow it down to a particular nation and man and say, well, the Jews. Because of them are writing story. Why wouldn't they be the subject of the story? They're writing the story about themselves.
His story.
He's the story, right? History.
Yeah.
He's the story. And that and then we to come over and want to read it and take that in the serious. Nothing can go so. Life exists all over the place. Life, as a matter of fact, the definition of life is existence.
I exist, I am.
Correct. Life cannot be created. Life cannot be destroyed. Why? So because one man dead, life is destroyed. As long as life continues, the man they gone. Life is still here. Life cannot be destroyed. Life could never be created. Who did ever create life? Where said God create life? Wouldn't God have to first be alive before he can create anything? So God couldn't create life. No, these are things I just think. I'm just inviting people to think, rather than just hearing something and just accept it. Think about it for a second. If you're a smart 7-year-old, if you explain this thing, you get it.
That's true.
It is that simple. So don't be so centered upon yourself to think that it is all about man and us and all of these things. No. The story that we're reading about Joshua and all these things that we're about to discuss, it's just a story demonstrating mind, the power of mind. That's all it is. I don't know we're literally happening, and we are not no special existence, and we are the apple of God's man bright enough to write all them things in a book. Say Israel, the Israelite, them are the apple of God eye. It would be like me have my 5 children, them and me pick out one and say that one they're the apple of my eye. What kind of father would I be? Sir Chris, continue.
Okay. Come on, certainly. So, rightly so. You'd be a bad parent, a terrible parent, if you only single out a certain child, and so on and so forth. But people say that and God can't do anything. So, and that is just being fearful of this invisible God. That he said he can just strike you at a moment's notice for blaspheming or just saying something out of context or taking it out of context and what have you. So people are very fearful if they read something and say the Bible says it, so God said. So I'm not going to challenge that because God. I can't do anything. Well, that being said, the story here of Joshua commanding the sun to stand still is not astrologically possible in the first place, because the sun itself does not even the sun itself is not moving up and down. It is a perception that it is. It is really the earth that is moving. So therefore, if Joshua did tell the sun to stand still, what would have stood still? Not the sun, it would have been the earth, because the earth is the one that's rotating. We have some flat earthers who have now come on the scene to say that the earth is not round, it's flat. All right. And that everything out there in space are is a dome or paint. They have all these explanations, but the one thing they've never done is show any proof of what they're talking about. If you want to debunk a story or storyline or a perception, you have to come with some kind of facts showing, okay, here's our conclusion, here's what we went out into space and videotaped and took pictures of, and this is what it looks like. All these are just assumptions that they're making. And I said to them, then if the earth is flat, everything else we've seen in the sky is round, but the earth itself is flat. All the planets we're looking at, the 7 planets, the other planets that are out there, all of them just happen to be round, but except for this one. Imagine that. 30.
No, I'm going to show you. I'm going to show you. I'm going to show you what it is. The man, to me, the man will consider Earth to be round. Him no wrong. And the man will consider it to be flat. Him no wrong neither. Because it is both. It is both round and flat. So confusing.
Yeah.
The Earth, the thing where we consider the Earth, the part where we depend, where we grounded on. That is dry land floating around in the water, in the middle of water. That's what the earth is in. It's so flat, the part of the flat. But the water is also a part of the earth, and the part of it is round. Because the same water, the same water, when the man in Australia go at the beach and look on the ocean, the same water when he look on the man in Jamaica when he go man take up there and look on the water, the same water he must see. And the same water go around the whole earth.
Yeah.
So the earth is round when you include everything, atmosphere. But the earth is flat in terms of the part that we inhabit. A flat, dry land with the fan. The dry land can't round. The dry land can't round, the dry land has to be flat. Because it's a solid, flat surface. But the whole atmospheric thing that we consider Earth, in other words, if you were to go out of space and look back on the Earth, it would have looked just like when them look in a space and see Pluto. It's round.
Or the sun, or the moon.
Or the sun, or the moon. Yeah, all these bodies are round, and they are just represent. What are they representing? The round. It is representing the no beginning, no ending.
That's it. It's beginning.
That's what it's representing. No, anything that is round, a circle has no beginning or end. That's what existence is. Existence never began. It can't end.
That's it.
It simply is. Do you really accept it?
We've come to know, and we're told or taught that the Earth is rotating on an axis at about 1,000 miles an hour. You know, thereabouts. And they would argue and say, well, how come we can't feel it? When you're on an airplane and you get up and walk on the airplane, can you feel the airplane speed? You can't feel the speed of the airplane. I get up and you walk perfectly fine, no problem. You're not stumbling, you're not doing all of this stuff. You just get up and walk, no problem. You know? But the airplane I move 500 or maybe 600,000 miles per hour, and you can't feel it. You understand? You're able to get up and walk perfectly fine. So this is the argument that people say, well, if the Earth is moving so fast, you have to understand 1,000 miles an hour for the Earth moving, rotating, is not fast. It's actually slow because the Earth is so big. The bigger the instrument or the object or whatever, the speed of it is not going to be as noticeable because it is a large object, you know. But if it's measured based on how it's moving and so on and so forth, it can be recorded as being very fast. 1,000 miles an hour is fast. Fast for
you know what is a perfect example of what you say is so correct. So the bigger the object, the less noticeable the speed is going to be. And the smaller the object going at the same speed, it's the more noticeable it's going to be. I use an example. The fastest runner, fastest man ever, is Usain Bolt. 2009, dog in a Berlin day, he run 9.58 seconds over 100 meters. Never been done before, but Usain Bolt is 6'5". If you saw that race, you saw he was going fast. Because when you look on the rest of them in a race, you realize he was certainly going faster than everybody else.
Yeah.
But he's 6'5". Can you imagine now? I want you to picture a man who is 5 foot tall, like a sharp midget man. I want you to picture him running that same 100 meter at that speed. You know how fast he would be going. You look at him.
They put them on move.
Yeah, he would have going like a bullet. So that explains what I just said.
You'll be noticeable, you're right. Yeah. Boy, just look like he's chucking. He's like this slow motion. And he's going, 25, 30 miles per hour. But him look like this. I always wondered about that. So how could a man run so, almost motionless, like effortless effort? No effort at all. But he's going so fast in front of everybody else, both with no effort. And you're right, it's because of his size. You sure it?
Yeah, man, the man is 6'5", that giant of a man. So that's how it's gonna appear while a smaller person going at the same speed they would almost catch a fire. You will end up to be going fast.
Put the shoes that catch a fire for all of the friction. So that's what people have struggled with, saying that, well, the Earth cannot be going that fast, or else we would notice it, or we would feel it, and all these different things. So I'm just trying to put things into perspective together so we can have we can debunk this argument about the sun standing still. All right. Now, the earth, what keeps us grounded is obviously the density, or some people call it that, or gravity. Gravity keeps you attached to the ground. You know, so that's why when you jump up into the air, you still land back at the same place. People say, well, if the earth didn't move, then how could it, if we jump up, or the earth, no, or we land back at the same spot? Because even when you jump up, gravity still holds you in place, just like it holds an airplane in place. That's what the only reason why an airplane can fly is because gravity has it, like a magnet. It's like a road going in the same direction. You understand? And so it's not going to veer off course. If that was to ever happen, the plane would go off into space or wherever it goes. Okay? If gravity doesn't hold the plane, it's gone into oblivion. Okay? So something has to be there to keep it in place. Same thing with the road and the tire. The tire has friction because the gravity holds the tires to the ground, so the tire can work with the friction to move the vehicle. Understand? So I say that to say that if Joshua was to tell the sun to stand still, he would not be telling the sun to stand still. He would be telling the earth, because the earth is rotating. Now, here's what happens when something stands still. Remember now, the earth is an inhabited object by many people all over the world, not just people from the east, or not just Joshua and his thing there, and his Israelites. It's not just them. It is a worldwide inhabitant. So if the world was to stand still, the earth was to stand still, everybody would be affected. So here's what happens when something stands still. When you're in a car going 40, 50 miles an hour, and the car just abruptly stands still because it made an impact with an object of the sort. What happens to the people in the car? They keep on moving. This is why people fly through the windshield and all these different things like that, because you're going the same speed as the object you're in. So if the earth is moving at 1,000 miles an hour, as scientists say, we are also moving at 1,000 miles an hour. Just like how you move 40 miles, 50 miles an hour in your car. So if the earth was supposed to stand still, guess what would happen? Everything will fly off of the earth. Everything that's not grounded, not rooted, would fly off into space, fly off somewhere, because it's moving at the same speed as the earth.
No matter how rooted an object is, that if the earth stop, the speed that they say the earth is going at, if the earth stop, no matter how rooted that object is, it will fly off. It will pop off.
Yeah.
So the earth can't stop. So the sun never move, but the earth didn't move. That's the word. It's circus. That's the word.
You understand? So it is it is not astrologically or physically possible in this sense for the earth to stand still, as we just demonstrated, just like a car. It's not possible for a car to stand still after going at a particular speed, and for anyone to also stand still. Everybody would fly off. It's physics. Okay, you will never see an accident where, that's why you have a seatbelt. I don't care what speed you're going, that the person doesn't move forward after impact. It's not physically possible to avoid that. It is scientific. Okay, so that's all you debunk that story about the earth standing still, is knowing the truth about what's really the how does the celestial bodies really work, and what's really moving and what's not. The sun, as we just demonstrated, stands still and everything revolves around it. Okay, it's in the center. That's why they call it the solar system. It's in the center. Okay, it's the sun system with everything moving around it. So the sun can't stand still. And the earth, and it's just there sitting over the earth for, like the story said, for a day and stuff like that. Okay, it's a misunderstanding of what scripture or what Joshua was trying to say. Joshua, in this sense, Joshua means, in Hebrew, salvation. Okay, Joshua is the Englishized form of the Hebrew original, Yeshua, Shaya, Yeshua, or something like so. It's the same as Jesus. The Englishized version of Jesus is Yeshua. Okay, so Joshua and Yeshua is the same name, which means Yeshua means salvation, or Jesus save, if you want to use that term. Okay, salvation means to salvage, to save, to take something that was out of form, out of character, out of what you wanted it to be, and you save it, you salvage it. You make it into your own. Okay, so one thing I was telling my wife that this morning. One point I want to bring here is talking about when Joshua was on that conquest, because the promised land, the land of Canaan, was promised to the Hebrew Israelites, and so in the conquest, Joshua. Let me read it here. So right here. So again, Canaan is the promised land that God promised to the Israelites. It is a land that symbolizes milk and honey, and is associated with a deep connection to Hebrew culture. The Bible justifies the Israelites' occupation of Canaan by identifying it as the promised land. All right, so Canaan is supposed to be the promised land. And this conquest we're talking about here, this story, was when they went to Gibeon. The Hebrew word, or Gibeon, which means hill city. Gibeon was a Canaanite city in the ancient Palestine, located in the tribal territory of Benjamin, northwest of Jerusalem. And it was a significant place in the Bible, appeared 43 times. Here are some things that happened in Gibeon. All right, so in Gibeon, it says that Joshua, the Gibeonites, or whatever you want to call them, submitted to Joshua during the Israelite conquest of Canaan. So Joshua was going to Canaan, and I let my wife hear the story this morning. And everybody that Joshua came upon, everybody in that city, were killed. And it ended by saying, and none was left alive. Joshua killed everybody, him and all of the Israelites, slaughtered. And you notice that the Israelites, them never did. There was no Israelites were ever recorded as being killed, except God killed them. The devil not kill them, only God. But none of the enemies killed the Israelites. The Israelites were always going to killing everybody. And it says, none were spared, none were left alive. Joshua killed every living soul, even the baby on the breast. In some stories, we were told, were not to be spared. The mother and the baby on the breast were not to be spared. Okay? Now, interestingly, it says right here, God also sent a storm of hail and fire to the enemies, helping Israelites win the battle. Joshua commanded the sun to stand still so that this army would have more time to fight by daylight. And this right here, the tabernacle was located in Gibeon during the reigns of King David and Solomon. So the tabernacle, here it is now, the tomb of prophet Samuel is believed to be located in Gibeon. Okay. The tabernacle, as talked about before, was said to be built by the Israelites. It was supposed to be a place to worship God. It's supposed to be movable upon the plain. It is supposed to be covered with skin, and it's supposed to be elongated. Now, can you build a building that is movable, that is elongated, and is covered with skin like this? That was in the book of Leviticus. These people are talking about the body being this tabernacle. Okay? The body is a tabernacle that walks upon the plane, walks upon this planet, and is movable, and is a place of worship. So when they use the word tabernacle or church, they're talking about the body. Okay? They're not talking about a stationary building of any sort. The tabernacle was located in Gibeon during the reigns of King David. Now, interestingly, in this story, there were 5 kings, and again, Gibeon is a hill city or a where's the next part there? A place of the hill, built on a hill, a royal city of the Canaanites, whose inhabitants made peace with Israel. All right. So this place had 5 kings. How interesting is that? That Joshua went around attacking all of the 5 kings, slay them with the sword, and all of their inhabitants. Not one was left alive. 30, 5 kings, you know. What does the number 5 remind you of? When we talk about 5.
5 senses.
Your 5 senses. That them are the king of the body. Your 5 senses are your sight, your hearing, smelling, tasting, and touching, or feeling. Them are the 5 senses, you know. They are the king of this tabernacle, the body.
And the captain of them 5 senses, there's feeling.
And the captain is feeling.
People will tell you, there's sight, but it's not sight. Why you think the parable spoken tell us that we walk by faith, not by sight? Faith are one of the senses, you know. Faith is feeling. Faith is not believing.
What faith mean again, Sir T?
Faith.
Yeah,
Feel as if this happened.
exactly.
Feel as if this happened. That's what faith is. Faith is when you're capture the feeling. Not the belief, not the thought, not the hope. The feeling, you're actually feeling the exuberance, the joy. You're feeling it in yourself that this already happened. In other words, you are living. And because you're already living it, you shall live it. That's how faith move mountain. What mountain? The mountain of impossibility, the mountain of not experiencing the thing right now, but wanting it so badly. Faith is what transforms you from that fear to the next fear there. Remove the mountain that stands in the way of it. Because you feel as if this happened. And if you continue feeling that, feeling is the secret. Never gotta tell you that. You can't. You get something, Virgin. If you're feeling, if you're man about him gut feeling.
Yep.
All right, your gut feeling, the other one, the way you can't even explain, but your gut feeling is not a, when you get it as a gut feeling, it's not an assumption, it's not a faith anymore. In a way. You get it as a gut feeling, you know. You know, so you don't have to go against that. You know that. Your gut feeling. So feeling is the captain of all the senses, and the 5 kings that it's talking about. Your 5 kings that rule your experience are your five senses. But the king of all kings, meaning the sense of all sense, the king of all kings is feeling. Feeling gets the blessing.
So said Isaac.
Yes, feeling. People hear about Shem, Ham, and Japheth. And them read about Noah three sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth. The one named Ham, him is the one that is blacklisted in the Bible. Ham is the cursed one. Ham is the captain of all three brother them. Ham is the one. Ham means feeling. What you mean? Ham is the one that joins your desire through your experience.
Cursed be Canaan.
Huh?
Cursed be Canaan.
Canaan, the son of Ham.
Yeah. You're right, 13.
Yeah, so these are things where you have to be able to read these stories and take yourself out of it, take naturality out of it because it's not natural, and see the story for what it's telling you. Feeling it is. Keep going, Sir Chris.
Yes, man. Love all those points you're making, Sir T. They really correlate with the story. It makes sense. The captain of the five senses is your feeling, your touch. Because never mentioned, I believe, when you touch something, of all the five senses, you can't fool the touch. You can be fooled by what you hear. People say hear voices. People say them see dopey. Sure sometimes where you smell or where it's coming from. And the taste, you probably can't pick up. Sometimes you can't taste. Sometimes you lack the ability to taste something, probably from a cold or whatever. You can't taste it. But you can touch something, you can hold on to something and know that you have it in your grasp. You can really feel what something is like. If it's hot, cold, ordinary, whatever. Has a texture, no texture, you name it. Wet, soft. Yeah. Touch, feeling. Another name for touch is absolutely associated with the term feeling, as in your consciousness, how you feel about something.
You're talking the emotions.
The emotions, yes.
And even the emotions, it is still that one is just the softer. Your emotions is a softer experience of the sense of touch. It's the same thing, and that's why it's called feeling. Your emotions is called your feelings, same way. Just like when you touch something, you say you feel it. When you touch it, watch it. You ever notice some people were very emotional? Everything get them upset or whatever. They're very emotional. When people say about them, they say that person, they touches you, man. Not what them say about it, but that person. The term that they use, they say you're very touches. Yeah. Sorry about that, sir. Yeah, so touch and feeling, that's your sense that you can't miss with. You cannot miss. You can think you hear something and not really that you hear. You can think you smell something and not really that you smell. You can think you see something and not really that you see. That's why people say they see dopey. You can miss on those. You can think you taste something and taste like something, but not really. So you can miss with your taste, you can miss with your hearing, with your seeing, with your smelling. You can never miss with your touch. If you touch a surface and it's wet, no man can't convince you say it's dry. You know so you're touching and it's wet. You can't get it wrong.
Yeah. Absolutely true.
Feeling is the key.
That's the one. Feeling is the key. Feeling is the secret. So here are we going to put this story together now. 11:11. Just now. Here's how we're going to put this story together. So I'm seeing here Gibeon. Remember, I read earlier now, Gibeon means the hill city. Gibeon is a hill city that's in Canaan. Gibeon, or hill, is talking about a higher level of consciousness. Remember last week we talked about Sodom and Gomorrah and how Lot and Abraham discussed which city they were going to choose. Abraham went up in the hills. Lot went into the plains. Plains means valley, lower level to the higher. He went to the lower mind, a lower place of self. And as you can see, the story ended in it being devoured, meaning that you cannot operate in the lower mind, meaning the conscious mind. You have to operate from your higher mind, the subconscious. Okay? And so the city was destroyed, meaning operating in the lower aspect of the mind and to race to the hills. When Lot left, where did Lot go? Lot was told to go up into the hills. That's what these stories are telling you, same story over and over. So we're talking about here with Gibeon, in the same place where because that was a place in Canaan, Renium, Sodom and Gomorrah, that was in the plains. Gibeon, however, is a hill city that was in Canaan. Canaan being the land of milk and honey. Canaan is where all things is like land, is like milk and honey. Milk and honey symbolizes prosperity, to use that word. Okay? All your wishes come true. Everything is there in Canaan, all your desires, milk and honey, right? So here we are talking about Gibeon. Gibeon is a hill city that's in Canaan. And Gibeon was attacked by the five kings. Check this out. Joshua said, "Open the mouth of the cave and bring me those five kings." They brought him the five kings from the cave. I wish cave him could have talked about now.
The cave of the skull.
Right? All these words that they use to symbolize, they're talking about the body, the structure of the body, the mind, all these things are in the story. But if you're not aware of mystical writings or these Hebrew terminologies, you will not know that Gibeon, the word Gibeon or Gibeon, means a hill city. It's talking about your higher consciousness. The Bible is always talking about the higher against the lower. Okay? The higher mind, the subconscious mind, against the lower mind, the conscious. The Jesus story with Christ walking around with the 12 disciples. Those 12 disciples are your five senses, or the conscious mind. You understand? The conscious mind and the five senses are one and the same, because you are always conscious when you use your five senses. So they are related, because they work with a present knowing. You're seeing something now, you're hearing something now, you're smelling, tasting, and touching something right now. Okay? You're conscious of it. And even if it's something that was seen in the past, you're conscious that you saw it. You're conscious of what you heard, past tense. You're conscious of what you tasted, conscious of what you smelled, and conscious of what you had touched. It's a conscious operation. You know that you experienced it. But to our subconscious mind, we are unaware of its existence. And we're just being told to go to that hill city to know this is where all things derive from, the subconscious. All things are, all of your problems, all of your your good times, whatever, all things come from it. There's nothing that does not come from the subconscious. But it comes from the subconscious first by being impregnated by the conscious. And your five senses are culprits that influences the conscious mind. So you will see something consciously, and it can influence your conscious mind, meaning that you can say, for instance, you're driving to work and you saw that the traffic was backed up. And now you start to say, boy, am I going late, You start to use what you see now to influence being late. Influence what? Your subconscious mind is going to now record that. And over a period of time of doing these things, looking at the traffic, seeing all of what's going on, next thing you know, every day you go to work, you're late because you have no program your subconscious mind to bring it to where traffic is going to be backed up, accidents. You may get into an accident, all kind of things are going to transpire because you have used one of your five, if not all of your five senses to influence the hill city in the land of Canaan, the land of milk and honey. The land of milk and honey is your awareness, your consciousness, where all things dwell, all things live in it, good, bad, and indifferent. Now, your five senses is supposed to differentiate what is good and what is evil, or so on and so forth. But you're not really supposed to see anything as good or evil. You're supposed to see everything as they are. They're just
you just like something. You just like some things, and you're not like some. I don't like it good or it evil. You like something. You choose some things, and you don't choose some. None of them not good and none not evil. Because some of the things that you choose in a still end up messy up see way, and now you choose it. So it's neither good nor evil.
No, it's not meant to be that. They're there for a purpose, for a reason. All things are there for a reason. And if you have the awareness of how to use it, your experience will be pleasant, to use that word. And if it's not, it's unpleasant, unpleasing. And you knowing what is unpleasing and what is pleasing to you, is fine. It's fine. So the five kings is talking about the five senses, as 13 mentioned earlier. It's your five senses. Your five senses are kings over your conscious mind. Okay? They are kings to this body. They control what and how you think. Because as I just illustrated, a backed up traffic or accident or whatever is going to influence your mind, that your subconscious mind, that is, that you're going to be late. And if you continue to repeat that belief, your subconscious is then programmed to make you late. It's going to take you to places where you're not even thinking that you would end up there. But you're going to end up there and wonder what in the world is going on here. You will not know that you have programmed your subconscious mind to direct you to these unpleasant experiences, because you have not dealt with the five kings. So the five kings of the Amorites. All right. So what are the five kings? Well, them name what is it? King of Jerusalem, the king of Hebron, the king of Jarmuth, the king of Lachish, and the king of Eglon. I'm not going to go through all of these today, but you guys can go back and look them up. But I'm sure if you look up all these names, you will see a correlation to their nature. So they have a certain nature in which these kings operate. And you're supposed to destroy the nature and live only in the nature of the higher sense. The higher sense, the subconscious mind, some will relate to as the father, would say that the subconscious does not allow things to influence it, knowing that if it does, it's going to take on that nature of the thing it allowed to influence it. So the subconscious depends on the conscious mind to be disciplined so not to influence it, the subconscious, because when influence will carry out the command. 30.
You know, the subconscious is that obedient servant.
Very.
Subconscious mind does not have the potential or the desire to argue with you. The subconscious mind does not care if you're gonna enjoy the experience or you're not gonna enjoy it. You call for it, you're gonna get it. That's why I'm telling you the mind, the mind is a faithful servant or is a cruel master. It's a faithful servant, the subconscious mind, but it's a cruel master. You have to master that mind. You can't let it master. It's your servant. It's a servant. You have to master that mind. You have to be the mastermind. That's your only business on earth, you know. Your only business, your primary business. People ask, what is your purpose? And man, I say, oh, this, my God, this God created me with this purpose. That you have one purpose on this earth. Master your mind. That's your purpose. Master your mind. You are the one that joined this mind. What do I mean by that? The mind was always there. Before you come from party, the mind was always there. You are the one who joined this journey. And you joined this journey knowing, you know it yourself. From your company's earth, you know that you're supposed to do, supposed to master your mind. Why? Because you're always alone with your mind. You are always alone with your mind. You talk to your mind, all of us. You talk to your mind, or you might say, me talk in my mind, or you talk to your mind talk back to you. And it's always a very private conversation. Your mother don't know about that. Your father, God, nobody don't know about where you are in your mind about it. You and that mind are always in conversation. And you are to master that mind. That's your primary objective in your whole existence. Everything what you're doing. Will you ever accomplish it? I can't tell you. I don't know. I'm not master mind. I haven't mastered mind. So I can't tell you that you're gonna be successful in mastering it, but you should be getting better at it. Why? Because the results are there to prove you know what happened when you keep your mind disciplined towards anything at all. And you also know when you're disciplined towards anything that you're doing becomes raggedy. You see the result that comes out. The result is always a congruent replica of what you've been thinking. And you know. So master your mind. Circus.
Love that, Sir T. Master your mind. Be the mastermind. Mind is a wonderful servant, but even a more dangerous ruler or master, you know. And that's the story of all of this. That's the principle the Bible is teaching in all the stories. Really simple as that. That you're supposed to master your mind. You know, you're supposed to be the higher mind over the lower mind. You're supposed to operate primarily and solely as the subconscious. That is the main story of the New Testament. New meaning the new way to the new nature. The new is your second nature, or your surname. Surname just means your second nature, which is the nature we're all striving to attain, to get to. Okay? This is why Peter was surnamed, this is why Simon was surnamed Peter, when he disciplined his nature of hearing only good news. There's two Simons in the 12 disciples, Simon of Canaan, how interesting is that? Is the second one. What is that telling you? Even within that context of the 12 disciples, Simon being hearing, the second one is the second nature of the first hearing, and it associates itself with Simon the Canaanite. Simon the Canaanite, or Simon of the land of milk and honey. What is that telling you? That you should always or only hear good news. You should only hear something that is pleasant. So if something is unpleasant to you, you should be disciplined enough to know that it is and discard it, such as the writings in the Bible. We haven't disciplined our mind enough to know that when we hear or read these stories, and we're told that these are literal historical facts that happened according to these idiots, 3,224 years ago, where Joshua told the sun to stand still, you must discard it. You must be disciplined enough to know that this could never happen. If you learn about astrology and physics and all these things, you would not get yourself caught up in this nonsense. And you won't say stuff like, well, God, so whatever God say that's it. It can't happen. Really. You cannot be that foolish to believe or accept such a story. You have to discipline your mind. So the story of Jesus and the 12 disciples is your subconscious, you operating solely as a subconscious mind, going around and saying to the dead, rise, or saying to what name the Lazarus, saying to Lazarus, come forth. And say, oh, I'm dead, man. No, he's not dead. He's just been sleeping. Lazarus, come forth. You're supposed to be operating as that subconscious higher mind at all times, never in the lower mind. The lower mind is necessary to desire, to imagine, to think, but use it wisely. You have it for a reason. Without it, nothing can begin. You cannot begin a desire without the conscious mind and without having the five senses to help you with your desire, with what you want to see, hear, smell, taste, and touch. All these things are there for a reason, but it's just that we're not disciplined enough to use them properly. So hence, we have things influence us because our conscious mind, our five senses, or the 12 faculties of our conscious mind are not disciplined. And the sight, the hearing is the first one that you should discipline, because you hear more than you talk. You're gonna always be hearing stuff. People are gonna tell you, say, you're not gonna be this, you're not gonna be that. You're too tall, you're too short, you're too fat, you're too skinny, you're too white, you're too black, you're too poor, whatever. They're gonna tell you things that can influence your subconscious because you accept it and let it pass the mass at the gate, which is supposed to be your hearing. Simon, You're supposed to be a rock and do not let these things attach itself or themselves to your subconscious mind. And the best way to do that is to destroy the lower thinking or the lower beliefs of the five senses. The five senses are of the lower mind, and they're easily influenced and stuff like that. So it says right here that the five kings of Gibeon in the Bible were the kings of Jerusalem, Hebron, Jarmuth, Lachish, and Eglon. And one of them was Adonai, Zedek. And who's the king of, and who is this king? The king of Jerusalem is Adonai. Zedek, the king of Hebron, Oham, the king of Jarmuth, Piram, the king of Lachish, Japhia, and the king of Eglon, Deber, if you want to pronounce it like that. So it is telling you, and I'm sure when you investigate these things, you will see that they relate to the five senses or the nature of the five senses. Okay? And they were all destroyed by Joshua, every last one of them. Joshua sent for them in the cave being your skull, where your consciousness dwells. And the Bible said, not me, according to history, the historical events in the Bible, that they were all destroyed with the sword. Every last one of them and all their inhabitants. Nobody was spared. Everybody, women, child, the sick, the lame, whoever. When the Israelites passed through, everything was killed. Israelites, again, or Israel means to act as God, or to rule as God. You understand? Mean to rule as the higher mind. Always. So when your senses come to you and tell you foolishness, you must destroy it. Not to destroy the sense in the sense of permanent destruction of the senses. We're not talking about destroying your eyes and your hearing and your smelling and your tasting and your touch. We're not talking about that. We're talking about becoming the master over it rather than it mastering you. It is simply that, the destruction of it is not anything physical. It is all psychological. All psychological is all mental. It is to know that you are to be master over it. Once you know you're supposed to be master over your mind, you have destroyed it completely. So you have gone into the city, like Joshua did, and destroy everybody. Them being the lower mind, or the limited thinking of the lower mind, easily influenced. And that is all the story of Joshua telling the sun to stand still is saying here. The sun, in this essence, is talking about your higher consciousness. When the sun rises, isn't it up in the sky? Is it not rising? You're telling your conscious mind, your subconscious mind, to be the mind where it overshadows or overpowers everything in its sight. Stand still so that you can have daylight, so that you can see what you are chasing after and what is in your path, what negative thinking, negative thoughts. Your subconscious mind is the higher mind. You understand? And you should dwell there. And it's going to show you all of the negativity that can influence you or that may influence you, and you are to destroy it. How? By way of using your higher mind. It is really what this entire story and this entire book is always talking about, in a nutshell. Using many different stories and metaphors and hyperbolism or symbolism, numerology, all these different things are just the many different ways to skin the cat. And you just have to choose which one, which road you want to experience on this journey. Everybody's journeying in the same direction, It's just up to you which road you want to use. You want to use a rocky road? Well, you're staying in the conscious mind, right? You want to use a smooth road, paved, smooth like silk and paved, use the subconscious. It's up to you. But they're both going same places. It's just that the road to in the conscious mind is going to keep you starting over and over and over. Wishy-washy, believe in one day and then disbelieve in the next. You know, not believing you can do it, and the next minute you say, boy, I can't do it. Because the conscious mind is double-minded. It thinks there is good and it thinks that there is evil. The conscious mind, the subconscious mind does not care about that. The subconscious mind is the mind of milk and honey, the mind of life. Understand? What the scripture say? The book of life, or in the Garden of Eden, you know, the tree of life, that's the subconscious. You're not supposed to eat from the very beginning of the scripture. I tell you, do not eat from the tree of good and evil. Don't eat from the conscious mind, because the conscious mind will fool you and kick you out of the Garden of Eden, meaning your higher awareness, because they cannot mingle together. They have to be of one accord. The conscious mind and the subconscious mind are one. They're husband and wife. They can never be separated, except by discord, by not having the same level of understanding, by opposing each other rather than working together. It's like your right hand and your left hand not corresponding. They're at each other's throat. And we know that's not even how it works. We use them, one being more dominant over the other, but at the same time, the left hand is necessary if you're right-handed, and vice versa. You understand what I'm saying? But if you were to be in opposition of your non-dominant hand, or the non-dominant in opposition against the dominant, you're not going to go anywhere. You're going to be stuck right where you are. They are part of your whole. You're supposed to use them to work together. Same with your foot. One can't go forward and the other one going backwards. You're going to be stuck right where you are. They have to operate in unison to move forward. 30. No, 30, get busy.
Yeah, sir, Chris. Yeah, I got a little bit busy doing some work here. But I'm listening in. Keep going.
Yeah, man. You know, and so this is the main point I want to convey to you guys. We're not gonna be long-winded, to use one of Sir Marlon's word. Uh, he's not here, but we're gonna end the class soon. But you know, we just want to get those points across to you guys. When you read the story about Joshua telling the sun to stand still, all of what I just laid out is really what Joshua is saying. You know, first of all, you have to know that you are the tabernacle, elongated, movable, and covered with skin. In the book of Leviticus, it tells you that when the Israelites were told by God to create a tabernacle for worship, and the Israelites built a tabernacle, elongated, movable, and covered with skin. Tabernacle is not a church building. The church building is something that's mobile, meaning on the go, anytime, anywhere, any place, movable. Okay? And the only thing that can do that is something that's alive. Okay? Something that's alive. And we're to be covered with skin. These are the skin. Flesh. Okay? The tabernacle is your body that houses your awareness. And we're told in this story that we should let the sun stand still in order so we can fight longer. We can see all of the plane, the lower plane. We can see the lower mind, the lower plane. We can see for what it is and destroy it. Destroy all of the limitations of the senses and raise those senses as the Jesus movie did, story did in the New Testament, raising all of the 12 disciples to discipleship or to apostleship, where they are now in command of how they think rather than being, subordinates or lower minds, lower level of consciousness or lower level of thinking, and become higher at all times. Be the master of it, protecting your subconscious the whole time, because your subconscious, as Sir T mentioned earlier, cannot argue, cannot reason. And one would say, yeah, man, but God can't do anything. No. Your consciousness is this God that theologians and everybody else talk about, that exists out there somewhere. That God does not exist, nowhere to be found. Okay? That consciousness is both male, female in terms of its nature, but it is neither male nor female. It's just the nature of it operates as is, as such, meaning that one has to be submissive and one has to be the director, the instructor. Nothing to do with one being, say, lower and not are insignificant than the other. No, both minds in this term are very significant, but they have to operate accordingly. Right or left, everything must be a decision, and decide wisely with agreeance or with some kind of understanding that this is the way. Cannot be opposed. One cannot be going right and one cannot be going left. They have to either go right together or left together. Can't go so. Cannot be separated, or else nothing is going to happen. Okay? They have to always be together. But discipline in their direction in which they're going. And that is all the scriptures are telling you to do, is to discipline your lower mind. The subconscious mind needs no discipline. It's the higher mind, it's the teacher. The conscious mind is the student. Whenever the student is ready, your subconscious mind, the teacher, will show up. Okay? The conscious mind is the one that is always the child who needs discipline. You understand? What I'm saying, if you spare the rod, you spoil the child. You have to discipline your conscious mind, or it's going to be set in its ways. As I'm saying, you cannot let the tree grow in its own direction. You as a parent have to not allow, but you have to let the tree grow in the direction you want it to be, because if it grows too big, it's going to be set in its ways. You can't do nothing with it now. You have to break the tree down, chop it down, or stuff like that. You have to fight with it. So you have to grow the tree in the direction that you intend it to be. Can't leave it be to grow wherever I want to go. It's going to be destructive. So that child, the conscious mind, needs guidance, or else, being that it is attached to the subconscious mind, it is one with it. Whatever it becomes, so does your subconscious mind. Whatever your conscious mind become is the same thing your subconscious mind is going to become, because the subconscious mind, it has no boundaries. It doesn't say, well, this is my dwelling place and that's yours. No, it has no boundaries. Wherever the conscious mind leads it, that's where it goes. And so therefore you have to be always aware of the subconscious mind in the background, being very submissive, being the feminine aspect of your consciousness, and the conscious mind being the masculine aspect of your consciousness. These two minds. This is why scripture said, let us, the two nature of the one mind, the conscious and the subconscious, create man, meaning male and female, in our own image and likeness. This is why we have one masculine, one feminine. That is the image and likeness of your awareness. One being masculine, one being feminine. So there's the image and likeness of your consciousness. So man is the male and female aspect of your consciousness, is a physical expression of your consciousness. I mean, if you guys were to honestly do these inquisitive research, you will see how the body, whether you're male or female, is made the same, but has intricate operations of the two for a particular purpose. But on a whole, the body is all consciousness. I don't care if it's a cat or a dog, whatever you see that's moving on the plane, that is consciousness, the male and female aspect in that one body, whether it be male or female, it doesn't matter. It's consciousness in that form expressing itself. And all of its structure is consciousness, all of it, all the nature of consciousness. It can see, it can hear, it can taste, it can smell, it can touch. All these things, your spine, all these things. Your spine is the subconscious of the subconscious mind. It controls everything in your body. All the nerve endings, everything. Everything is controlled by it. Your brain goes down into your spine. All these things. That's why when your spine is severed, you can't walk again. You know, some people become paraplegic. You know, so all these things, the entire body is consciousness, male and female, operating in unison, and we don't even know it. You know, but your main objective, as Sir T mentioned earlier, is to become master of the mind being the conscious mind, become master of it. And the master of it is the subconscious. You're supposed to be the subconscious, operate from that discipline only. So if you're going down the road and you see traffic and you're backed up, just imagine that you have gone through it and you have gotten to work early. And even if it didn't happen, and this is where it gets tricky, somebody are gonna say, you see, they might tell people to think positive or think or see the end from the beginning. I mean, that's nothing happen. You have to understand that you are creating, in a sense, the future happenings from the very present. You're creating it now. What is to come? So today, you're probably going to late for work, but don't let it become repetitive by thinking, oh, I'm going to be late. You're supposed to still be confident enough, be disciplined enough to see what's going on and discard it and only live in your imagination as to what you desire to be. If you do that enough, every day you go to work, you'll have a clear path. You'll find ways. Perfect example. You see when my wife and I go to work at daytime, I'll be a problem. And I don't know what to tell her, you know, because I just leave it be. And no matter what I tell her, I say, it's your mind, whatever. You see, when I'm driving her to work, we find ways to get there, no problem. Find ways. Because I program my subconscious mind to find those ways. I don't get caught up in all of the foolishness that's going on. All I'm concerned with is I am already there. I'm already there as far as I'm concerned. I'm just going through the motion. I know I've shown other ways how to get to work when this traffic is backed up here. Here's another way that you totally lose sight of because you're caught up in this foolishness that's going on the street. You know, I didn't know that these places exist, that this way existed. My subconscious did. But because I don't get caught up in that, I find a way, or it found me. You know? So now we've discovered 2 to 3 different ways to get to work or from work timely. I know she can use them. Same thing with me going to work. You know, I used to drive a certain way. I realized that it's not working out. Went into my imagination. No, when I drive to work, smooth sailing every day, no problem. Smooth sailing, clockwork, round and round, to work, from work. But if I had gotten myself, and interestingly, if I got myself caught up in all that negativity, even the smooth way that I found no would have become rocky somewhere, somehow. Trust me, I would have created a way that even the smooth path would have become rocky because of my dwelling place being negative, road rage and all this foolishness getting to work. I don't get caught up in all that stuff. You know, you see yourself where you want to be, where you desire to be, and you dwell there. If there's trouble along the way, oh well. If you keep doing it over and over and over by seeing it just the same every day, you will have influence and program your subconscious mind to clear the path for you. This is what I mean when I'm saying, well, we're going to pray to God for God to pave the way, or we're going to pray so God create a way of just nothing but pleasant happenings and everything is going to go right and all these things. That's what people mean when they say they're going to pray to God to guide us. No. But these prayers are not always answered because they're seeing it as some man in the sky in control, not realizing that it is you who is in control. Are you? Not no man in the sky.
So, Chris,
Yes, sir, T.
every prayer is answered, always. And the answer to every prayer is yes. What people don't know, is that you think when you take 5 minutes or 10 minutes or whatever period of time you take is be and kneel down at your bedside and do this repetitive nonsense. You think that's what prayer is? Prayer is not what you do for 10 minutes. Prayer is what you're doing all day long. What's going on in your head, in your mind, in your emotions all day long. That's you. That's you praying right there. You're not praying to nobody except your subconscious mind. Because that's you programming it, and the subconscious mind is always gonna respond. And the answer is always gonna be yes. What your plant is what you're going to read. And you're planting all day long. That's how you pray. Yeah, you kneel down and ask for some. We already know those prayers not answered. Everything where you kneel down and ask one God nice kind. Them the prayers not. But when you spend all day long in a certain mood and attitude, mix up moods and attitudes and all these things, when you go through that all day long and you see that mature and present itself before you a month time or 6 months time or a year time, you're always gonna get yes for it.
That is true, certainly. You know, the prayers them always answer because it's funny, you know. I know people who pray the hour and a half, literally. Like, you know, it's like a prayer meeting, whatever, you know, long prayer all day and stuff like that. And then when them finish pray, them say, why? I know, you know. Like them start to doubt what them pray about. You know why? Five senses. Them done pray and them hear something. Or them see something, you know. And it all of a sudden just changed their attachment to what they had just prayed about. They have no backslide, as they would say, from what they had desired to do or to experience, you know? And then them say, because they pray to a God in the sky, they must say to themselves, say, it's going to happen anyway. Um, you know, this is just me. Not realizing that they are the ones who are in control. And so when you just know say it not gonna happen, you just now cancel your or whatever you desire to experience. And you're new and they always do so much emotion. You are attached to it with feelings, as we mentioned earlier, Serti. You now feel as if it's not going to happen for some whatever reason. And so when nothing happens, yeah, the prayer is still answered. You're experiencing what you had for a brief moment, convince yourself this is how it is probably going to be with emotions, with feeling. And so even though what you truly desired didn't happen, you don't really realize that also what you had feared, like Job, also happened. That's the story of Job, you know. Job said, the things I feared have come upon me. That's not what Job wanted. Job wanted prosperity, land and money and wife and kids and cattle and all these things. And he lost all of that because he was in fear that the so-called devil would, some people would say, well, I'm saying no, the devil is a liar, or you know, the devil is at work, and all these different terminologies that we use. And the thing that you feared, like I listen so keenly to people, and everything that they say. I was talking to one of the young ladies that helped me with the birthday party the other day, and she was like, I got into an accident, and I saw this lady coming on the road, and I said, I sure hope this lady don't hit me, you know. And guess what happened? Her and the lady collided. And she saw this lady coming from God knows where and made it her business to say, I hope, meaning that the thing she feared would never come upon her. And it did, because she had absolute feeling, emotions to it. And I just listened and I didn't say anything. I didn't get into it to say, you know, say you cause that. I just let it be because they're not going to understand. Not going to understand because they're going to deny that any such thing is possible. It is the devil or the lady. Somebody go get blamed, except themselves. The day you take ownership or onus of all your unpleasantries or whatever you want to call it, unpleasantries, take ownership of everything. Don't credit God for all the good things and blame the devil for the bad. When you take ownership of everything, that is when you set yourself free. If you continue doing it, you would have influenced your subconscious mind to create, these particular circumstances. Even if you experience anything negative, so-called, it will soon be dried up, soon be dissolved, and back on track. But when you entertain, when these negativity come and you find yourself dwelling in it, entertaining it or entertaining it, meaning to have it absorbed within your consciousness, it is only going to reproduce. If you pull up, what do you call it, weed, and plant it back, where go come? No weed again. You have to pull it up and dash it where so it dry up. Don't pull it up and plant it back. Don't see what's going on and continue to see it going on, if you get what I mean. Meaning to imagine it, continuing to visualize it, to engulf yourself into it. You're only going to produce more. If you do produce more, even if you're, in the right alignment, there's always some subconscious programming that is there, that is the culprit. But when it does happen and you see it, you dissolve it. You become Joshua. Let the sun stand still. Joshua means to save or salvation, same as the name Jesus, same thing. And you dissolve it, you kill it. Everybody in that city, meaning that place, that dwelling place of lower beliefs, lower mind, you kill it. Every last one of them. That's all the Bible is talking about. The Bible is not telling that there's some city where Joshua, where all the Israelites went and killed man, woman, and children, even on the breast. These are just hyperboles, exaggerations, to hide within the context of the story the principal meanings. That's what preserves the principle of what it's telling me. If you can read a story like that and find the good in it without accepting it as a physical or literal historical story, wherein you would go out like these idiots out there, especially in the Middle East, are duplicating because they believe that what they read in the Bible actually goes up. It's absolute madness. How in God's name, to use that term, that we could find ourselves as human beings who have so-called, principles about us, our character, high character about us, how could we having the ability to disconnect or to see something as immoral or wicked? How could we have those nature and see something that went on in the past and come now and still carrying out this nonsense? That we in ourselves disregard or dislike? We in ourselves would never accept it or do it. But yet you find people who are Christians or in church accepting this madness and perpetrating it or promoting it to say, well, God are God and God say. Would you want God to send people come kill off your entire family? Because you are a Christian and not Muslim or not a Hebrew Israelite or whatever. Would you want that to happen? No. So why would you accept a storyline as such to be historical and to continue to perpetrate such a behavior in real life, so to speak? It's absolute madness. So that could never be what the book was telling you about. You have to learn that these people were mystics. They were enlightened individuals who chose to write the book as such to only be something that the seers, meaning not with the eyes, but with the imagination, with the third eye, the inner eye. The seers would see what is being said deep beneath the surface. They would see the gold, the diamond, all the precious treasures laying beneath what's above, what's being seen by these two eyes or heard by these two ears, and disseminate it and find the hidden gem, find the gold, find the diamond, find whatever that has value. Take that and dust about the dirt, discard that. You don't take the diamond and the dirt. You take the diamond and you put the dirt back. It's rubbish. It's only a skin covering the gem that you just found. Clean up the gem and turn it into a nice bracelet or a chain or a ring or whatever. Make it of something that is pleasant to you. Give it form, give it definition, whatever. It's that simple. And so to end today, guys, I think Sir T got busy with work. But we're going to end the story here, or the lesson right here, and come back next week with another story, illustrating how the mystics used it to talk about the higher mind, your subconscious, and the lower mind, your conscious mind, which is attached to your five senses. Your five senses are necessary to guide you, to feel heat and run while places burning down, to see danger and engage your fight or flight mode of operation, to taste something that is too hot and spit it out, to smell something that's not, enticing and get away from it, and to feel something that, is or touch something that may be too hot or too cool or whatever, and to protect yourselves. All these things are necessary to have. It is a guide given to you, by your consciousness. It is your consciousness informed, but is not trained because it is new to the form. It is new to the environment, to the experience. And you have to be aware to train it, bring it up the proper way. If you spare the rod, meaning the training that you're supposed to give to your conscious mind, you will spoil the child. That child, the conscious mind, will influence the subconscious because they are one and the same. And your mind, your life will be topsy-turvy, upside down, Ilangoli, all kind of foolishness. And you don't even know why. So that's our story for today, guys. The Joshua story commanding the sun to stand still. It is not a literal story. It is not history. It is a mystery of the mind, and it is not to be taken literally. It is to be taken only symbolically, metaphorically, parabolically, and to be used only to enhance your life and operate on a higher plane of existence. Higher plane meaning your higher mind, to see it as what it's supposed to be seen as and not what you are seeing. Always remember that. See things as it's supposed to be, not as what you are seeing. What you're seeing is an illusion and will confuse you, confound you, and froze you or freeze you into your space and place that you're in, or the mind, that the perception of your reality will always be your reality. That's why I'm saying perception is reality. If you perceive it and believe it, you will achieve it, even if it's good, bad, or indifferent. All right. So that being said, guys, got to run. Love you guys. Enjoy the rest of your day, rest of your week, and we will see you next week again in November, right here on Sunday at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time for another One Great I Am Awakening. Sir Clifford, big up yourself. Come and see me get your haircut, sir. It's about that time.
It is. Yeah, my beard needs to get shaped up and my line's off.
I'll be there this week, so hit me up.
All right, I'll see what I can do. All right, have a good one.
You too, buddy. All right, ladies and gentlemen, love you all. Peace and love.